All right, well, back for another episode of Keep Them Coming. Now, today I have a special guest. I have Melanie Cristol with Lorals. If you're not familiar with Lorals, you are going to learn so much, not just about this product, but about pleasure, about different ways to think about sex, about overcoming stigma, all the things. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you so much for agreeing to be on my show. I just, thought on a whim, I really like this product. I would love to interview someone. And you very quickly responded back and said yes, but turns out you've been on a little podcast guest spot binge lately, so I just lucked out.
Yeah, this is my third in a couple of weeks, so pretty excited about the current podcast circuit.
Yes. Well, I think it is a great way to have some deeper conversations about the products, about the journeys, about sexual health and empowerment that you don't get to have in just a quick video or an Instagram post. There's a lot of online censorship, I'm sure, for your product. Workarounds that you have to have in order for people to understand what your product is and, not get a post taken down. Things like that.
Absolutely. Get past those community guidelines.
Right. And even sometimes it's not even about getting past the community guidelines. We, for the most part, are often putting up posts that, if we were talking about the negative aspects of human sexuality, the words that we would use would not have to be censored. We wouldn't have to take out an E and put in an asterisk or an A and put in an @ sign. You can talk about anything that's negative about sex on the internet, but you can't talk about a lot of the positive things and a lot of the benefits or the workarounds that lead to even better sex.
Yeah, and the things that make people happier and healthier in their lives and in their relationships.
Yes.
It's really disappointing to be censored on those things, and that is absolutely a great aspect of podcasts.
Yes. So I guess tell me first, before we get into talking about what Lorals are, can you tell me a little bit more about your mission for your company?
Yeah, our mission is to empower people to be able to experience intimacy freely and fully, to be able to enjoy all different forms of sexuality and connect with their partners in so many different ways. I think that so many aspects of sexual wellness, whether it is sexual wellness in the media or social media or the products that are out there, so many of them are focused on intercourse. And intercourse is a wonderful way of connecting with a partner. But the reality is that there are so many other incredible ways that you can feel a connection to your partner, that you can, receive pleasure. And I have always felt that oral and foreplay are such a special way of making a connection with a partner or with multiple partners. Oral specifically, I see as a form of gifting intimacy. It is so special to be able to be, for example, for both the receiver and the giver. So for the receiver, you are receiving all of these incredible sensations while having your partner give you this gift. It's so pure and so caring. And to be able to lay back and enjoy and experience all of those incredible sensations without necessarily having to think about reciprocating during that moment. That's such a special thing to be able to enjoy. And so it's no wonder that oral leads to orgasm 3 times more often than intercourse. You're really able to lay back, yes, and enjoy all those great sensations. And then it's also so special for a giver because they are able to fully focus on their partner and figure out what makes them tick. What are the special moves? What are the special movements? What are the special sounds that the giver can make, or that they hear the receiver making, that tells them what is going on inside of the receiver's mind. It's just a really special means of connection. And I really wanted to dedicate a company to experiencing and enjoying all of these different kinds of pleasure that a lot of mainstream companies aren't really focusing on.
Yeah, they are not. There's definitely it's a growing industry for sure, but yeah, there was definitely a spot in the marketplace for a product like this. I think between your message of sexual empowerment and also taking the spotlight off of penis and vagina intercourse,
Yeah.
which is also a very cisgender heterosexual thing.
Yes.
And that does tend to be what the marketplace focuses on, both for pleasure and for protection.
Yes.
So, I think between the pleasurable aspects, the STI protection, and the possibility of taking out some of the ick factor, which we'll talk about in a moment, I love what y'all do. You have a great product. But let's talk about it. The long and short of it is they are basically latex single-use panties. So I covered the short. Tell me the long version. What are Lorals?
Yeah, we see Lorals as reinventing oral sex and helping everyone have uninhibited, maximum pleasure oral every single time. So Lorals, like you mentioned, they're ultra thin, super stretchy, made of this really soft latex that doesn't feel like, condom latex or something that you're used to. Instead, we really refined it to have a silky and soft texture. So you are able to slip those on and be able to say yes to all of these different sensations and types of play.
Ooh.
That you
I like
might
how
not
you put that.
Yeah, say yes every time. Like, we want everybody to be able to experience all of the pleasure they deserve. So you can slip on Lorals to be able to have fun kinky play or BDSM play. If you're into like the sexiness of latex, you can wear them for a night out. They're sexy latex lingerie. You can also use Lorals if you're interested in having oral at a time that you are otherwise maybe a little bit hesitant, but you still want those sensations. So if you're on your period, for example, or if you're getting to know a new partner and being up close and personal isn't quite what you're ready for yet. If you want to try rimming, but you're worried about poop, if you want to try going from cunnilingus to analingus and then back again. That is a sensation that you can't really do with skin to skin contact. Yeah.
So valid.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. As I was going through all the possibilities, I didn't even think about that possibility of going back and forth between vaginal, anal, vaginal. That is not good.
Yeah.
For a microbiome.
No, it's not at all. And so with Lorals, you're able to experience like how awesome that sensation is without having any worries that are associated with it. And then people will also use them if the giver or the receiver has sensory concerns. They get overwhelmed by taste or scent or texture. You can use Lorals if you are experiencing gender dysphoria and don't want somebody like touching your bits. If you also have faced trauma in the past and having somebody up close like that is a little bit too much for you. People also use them. One of the really big things we're very excited about is Lorals are officially an STI protection product. They're a medical device registered with the FDA. And so Lorals are also this really sexy, fun, reinvented dental dam.
Yes. The dental dam is something I have been evangelizing about for a few years. I feel like it's something that I have struggled to get people to have a buy-in about. I think that there's a lot of stuff that stops people from acknowledging that they need to be utilizing barrier protection for more than just a penis in a vagina or in an anus. But the dental dam seems to have some stigmas, some reasons why people are afraid to try them. This is, as you say, the reinvented dental dam, but it's overall we're talking about the concept of protecting orifices from fluid transfer and to increase like pleasure, as you see with all the sensory issues. I know that there's things we have to overcome. So what do you feel like are some of your biggest struggles when you're trying to get people to buy in to Lorals?
Yeah, well, I mean, so first of all, I really want to validate people's feelings about being like reluctant to use dental dams, because the dental dam was not created with like bodies in mind or oral sex in mind. It literally was created for dentistry. It's why it's called a dental dam. And
Yes.
it was basically a couple of condom company owners who saw a need to turn something into STI protection for oral. And they're like, oh, well, we already, the companies that we buy from already make these items for dentistry. Why don't we just make it a little bit taller and a little bit thinner and call it an oral dam, and people can go and use it. And it's good that oral dams and dental dams exist, but really so little thought went into that product. And
It was just a workaround. It was just, as you say, it was already something on the market and it was repurposed.
exactly, yeah. And I mean, you think about condoms, and if condoms were something that you had to hold in place the entire time and was, repurposed from like the rubber bag industry, like, is anybody really going to hold a condom in place while they're thrusting? Nobody wants to do that.
Valid.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, the repurposing, the having to hold it with two hands the entire time, the fact that it's called an oral dam or a dental dam, it's just, become a laughingstock product because it was an afterthought. And I think that with the inventive new products, not only Lorals, there's other companies that are coming to this space as well and creating products that really are designed for oral sex specifically and for the bodies of women and people with vulvas. And now that I think this is happening, it's causing the medical community to be able to stand behind a product. Like, it was hard for a long time for the medical community and the public health community to say, oh, go and use dental dams, like wink, wink. They knew that people were not actually using these products because it was such
Right.
an afterthought and because it was so cumbersome to use. But now
Yes.
that there are products that are hands-free, that are specifically designed for this type of activity, the public health community and the medical community, like, they are standing behind this and actually recommending these products. And so, to your point of STIs that are transmitted via oral sex, what we're actually seeing with new research that's been coming out really only the past few years, like since 2020, is that so many STIs can be spread not only as easily during oral than as compared to during intercourse, but sometimes even more easily during oral. So, for example, 85% of genital herpes cases are now thought to be transmitted via oral sex. And yeah, it's
Yeah, that's a big jump from
really
what they previously thought.
it's a really big number. And then also when it comes to bacterial STIs, the theory right now, and there's a lot of testing going on to determine whether this is indeed true, is that oral sex is possibly a larger transmitter of these STIs than intercourse. And the reason makes sense, especially when you're thinking about cunnilingus, because with cunnilingus, you have one mucous membrane that's here and one mucous membrane that's here, and they're rubbing against each other for a very long
Yeah.
time. It
Yeah.
makes sense that STIs can transfer this way. And I think
Yeah.
the fact that we haven't really considered this very much as a society until now shows us, again, like the preeminence of vaginal intercourse as, the most important form of sex. And I think that for a long time, people also correlated that with, also being the least safe form of sex and the one that needed most protection. But the reality is that sex is absolutely wonderful, and it can be a means of transmitting disease. And so when you're able to create products that not only protect people, but actually enhance the intimate experience and allow you to have activities that you wouldn't otherwise have, it's such a win-win.
Absolutely. Thank you also for that history of the dental dam. That wasn't something I was expecting, but I think that's important knowledge to have. Like, Pride is this month. I'm sure at many, many Pride celebrations, there are going to be nonprofits and community health organizations giving out condoms, lube, and dental dams.
And Lorals too now.
And Lorals too now, yes. Yes. I hope that there's someone at our Pride giving away Lorals. I think that's important for people to know when they're thinking about the fact that, like, oh, maybe it's something that they, as you say, it kind of became a joke because it wasn't really made for this. If something was made purposefully for femme sex or people with vulvas to protect them, and again, anybody with a booty. Mm-hmm. And we've all got
Yes.
we've all got a butthole.
We've all
Not
got
all
a
of us
butthole.
are into rimming, but
Almost everyone.
right. But there's nothing, as you say, out there that was convenient, that is cost effective. And honestly, if a product was easy to use, sometimes cost doesn't really matter. But I did see on your website that you can use your HSA and Flex Spending Account funds for Lorals. And that makes sense because you can use them at the drugstore for condoms. So that's good info.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Yeah. Well, so to back up a moment, and you talked a little bit about what got you onto this path, but I want to know a little bit more about your entrepreneurial journey. I tend to have a lot of entrepreneurs on here, and I being one myself am very interested. But I mean, what were you doing that led you to get into this space of sexual health and empowerment, and then lead you into the product space?
Yeah, so when I was in college, I was a peer sex educator, and I taught about condoms, and I taught about dental dams. And that was the time when I realized, kind of the reputation that dental dams had. And, people would giggle and say, "Are you serious? Like, really? I'm supposed to hold this thing in place?" And I understood where they were coming from. I was like, I can't full-heartedly get behind this product. It's good that it exists, but like, I want something better too. And then over time, I found myself using them and thinking, again, really good that it exists. I'm glad that this interaction I'm having is not going to lead to an STI. But like, I really would like to not have to use my hands like this, if I'm being the giver. Like, I want to be able to use my hands for other things. And if I'm the receiver, I want to be able to fully enjoy that experience and not have to think about it. Like, think about where my hands are.
Taking the logistics out of it makes a difference, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I had these experiences, and they were maybe a little bit in the back of my mind. And then I became a lawyer. I thought initially I was going to do LGBTQ rights law, and ended up going to a law firm. And I did some pro bono work for Lambda Legal, which was really, really special. Nice. And I also got to work on some really interesting cases for healthcare and consumer products companies. And, I was sort of thinking, maybe I'm going to be a lawyer the rest of my life. I feel like maybe it's not exactly what my calling was, but, it's going okay. And then I went on a romantic vacation, and I had an STI that was presenting itself, and I didn't want to transfer it to my partner. And, here we were in this remote location. You can't even find dental dams at drugstores like in the United States. You're certainly not going to find them in remote locations, in all over the world. And this was before Amazon. We couldn't order anything, and so we didn't have oral like on this romantic vacation. And what a bummer that was, like, to not be able to experience like the full menu of sexual activities. And I went home afterwards, and I thought to myself, it's too bad that there weren't dental dams available. It's too bad that they're not more popular so that you can get them anywhere, and so that like in a hotel convenience store, like, to be able to purchase dental dams. But then I thought, like, is that really what I would have wanted to use? Would that have fully solved our problem? Like, here we are in this beautiful romantic location. Like, do I really want to be using this laughingstock product, this flappy sheet of rubber, having to hold it up in front of my body, And that's when I realized, wait a minute, if this were a better product, it would be fun to use and actually enhance the experience. And it could be something that you'd be able to get anywhere because it was fun. People wanted it. And that's when I had the idea to turn it into sexy latex lingerie. Like, this was also like 50 Shades of Grey times. And
Oh,
so,
yeah.
kink was becoming, more and more popular. And I was like, wait,
Yes.
latex is really sexy. Let's make it fun and make it silky and beautiful and turn the bummer concept of a dental dam into something that's actually celebrated and really fun and hot.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that 50 Shades, while it has, I don't even think about like the issues with the context of the BDSM. I just think I couldn't make it through the reading level it seemed to be on. But 50 Shades stirred up so many conversations
really
about
did.
kink, sexuality. It did cause a cultural shift.
I really think it did. And I had a little bit of a kink side to me before it came out. And I remember, like, there was definitely the contingent that was like, oh, now everybody's into it, but that was ridiculous.
Right?
Like, how cool is it that now, a huge portion of the population are willing to explore so many aspects of their sexuality? It's really only a good thing, I think.
Totally. One thing at the dungeon, people are not cool with fluid transfer getting everywhere, all over the equipment. That does include sweat. So, yes, you got to probably wipe things down. But, sitting on an object while you're nude, whether that's a spanking bench or things like that, there is fluid transfer.
Yeah.
So, that's where I first saw Lorals, actually.
That's
Was
great.
at the dungeon.
Love
So,
it.
yeah. It looked cool because it was black. It seemed, I was like, it kind of looked different. And then I talked to the person afterwards, and sure enough, that's what it was.
That's so awesome. So, like, one tip when you're using Lorals in a dungeon environment or for kink play, I talked about the silky texture. That is like the default side of Lorals, but you could actually turn them inside out, and that is a shiny side, and that works super well for kink play. It really I mean, you can actually wear them as part of your dungeon attire or like fashion attire, because of like how sexy that shiny latex side is.
Yes. Yes, I didn't know that about that. That's really cool. That's really cool. Logistically, I was thinking that you mentioned like so many use cases and things like that. Logistically, gosh, the thing that I thought about, I had a guy I dated briefly. Of course, I've got better context now for asking questions about, what's really your concern here? But you had a great blog on your website that was talking about how to talk to your partner about using Lorals. So I wished I'd had that resource back then with this partner. But I'm pretty certain, actually got throat cancer from HPV.
Yeah.
But rather than talk to me about his experience, about his fears, or something like that, he was just like, nope, oral sex is off limits. I expect it from you, but I am not giving it to you. So let's talk a little bit about what that conversation can be like with your partner and getting them to have some buy-in, and to also not take it as a point of, I don't know, judgment, right? So that we don't necessarily trust them. There could be a multitude of reasons why we might want to use something like this. But what are some of your top tips for getting some buy-in from your lover?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sending lots of empathy to your ex for going through that. I mean, that
Right, yes,
must have
totally.
been so incredibly scary. And to also, I mean, I think this happens not just with HPV. So actually, HPV transmitted via oral sex is now the leading cause of throat cancer. 70% of throat cancers in men are caused by HPV. And then, to be in a situation where you have any kind of sexually transmitted infection or disease or something that has led to a thing as scary as cancer, and have that associated with your, with your bits, with your parts that are supposed to bring you pleasure. Um, it's such a tough thing to go through for somebody who has had any kind of an STI, and so I think that one of the things that's great to do when you're talking to your partner about Lorals is to focus on the pleasure aspect. Focus on the fact that utilizing this product will help you, either as a giver or receiver, be able to have so much more enjoyment from your sexual activity. So if you're somebody, there's different reasons why you might want to use Lorals. Maybe you're using them for kinky play. Maybe you're using them as a way to feel more confident and comfortable during intimacy. And maybe you're using them for STI protection. If you're using them for kinky play, I would absolutely recommend, bringing them up as in the same way that you would a toy. Like, I found this awesome new sex toy. I think that they're so sexy. I want to wear them out with you, or I want to be able to slip on hot latex and have you go down on me or rim me. And, that's a really good celebratory way to bring it up, focusing on the pleasure. If you are interested in using Lorals for comfort or confidence, and let's say you're the receiver, and then I'll talk about being a giver and wanting to bring this up. So if you're a receiver and there's something about oral that makes you not fully into it, even though you love those sensations, there's a lot of different ways you could bring it up. First, you can bring it up not even about Lorals, but about the fact that you feel this way. And, I love the idea of you going down on me, but then when it happens, I just am so stuck in my head, and I can't let that go. And I really want to be able to experience all of this pleasure that you're providing to me. And I found this cool product that I think is going to help me turn off all of those negative feelings and just be able to say yes to pleasure. Let's try it. Can we try it? I'm really excited. You can also bring that up by sharing one of our TikTok videos or Instagram videos. Social media and video has been a really great way for people to communicate with their partners about Lorals and tell them about the product. If you are a giver and let's say you're overwhelmed by texture or taste, this is a common thing for givers. It also is something that affects receivers, and sometimes they don't feel comfortable, either kissing afterwards or being able to having those scents waft up to them, and so it's a common reason for wanting to use Lorals, because you want those sensations, but you don't want those sensory things that are triggers for you. And I think bringing it up in the context of just getting too overwhelmed by everything that's happening is a really good and non-judgy way of bringing up this concept. And again, you can share a video about Lorals. You can also share, a piece of press. We have a list of all of our press on our website. You can check that out and share. And I think, bringing it up from I really want to be able to provide you with all of the pleasure you deserve. And I think that doing this will help me be more comfortable with it. And for some people, Lorals can actually be training wheels. If you have, sensory concerns, or if, let's say, you're new to giving oral sex and you're just a little bit overwhelmed with the concept, or if you're a receiver and, it's been hard to have somebody up close and personal like that. Lorals are a really great way of getting used to it and being able to accept all of that pleasure and enjoyment. And then maybe someday you don't need them anymore and you're able to, and able is the wrong word because, like, everybody's sexual experience is unique and valid, but you get to a point that what you want is skin to skin contact, and that's really exciting for folks as well. And then if you are concerned about STIs, let's say you have an STI and you want to receive oral, a way of bringing this up is basically saying, like, hey, we're getting closer to each other and we're experiencing more intimacy together. And, I think we should talk a little bit about health and STIs. And, I have this STI. I've had it for many years. I feel like I manage it quite well. I, take this kind of medication, or I utilize these kinds of products, or I use Lorals when I receive oral sex. And I think talking about it with comfort and with confidence is a really great way to bring this up with your partner and, like, pull them into your experience and have them be there for you. If you're a giver and you're concerned about either transmitting an STI or receiving an STI, I think a lot of what I've talked about already of, like, bringing this up from a place of positivity, with this product, you're able to feel all of those sensations, but, like, we don't have to worry about STIs. We're able to really enjoy the experience and have this barrier in place. And then we can do stuff like go from cunnilingus to rimming and back again. Like, doesn't that sound exciting and cool?
Yes. Everything that you said there was very much about removing obstacles. And you said something in there that I just absolutely loved, which was about say yes to pleasure. Anything that in the moment, I talk about this with my clients, that is something that makes you go no, or that makes you pause, or that you kind of have to re-divert your level. Like, you brought up a good example, the sensory issue of you have an orgasm, they've got your cum all over their face, and they come up and want to kiss you, or just now it's time for a different position, and that means your faces are close to each other. If that partner happens to be a person with a beard,
yes,
having all of that in their beard can be a really unpleasant experience. Or you may have to stop. He's got to wipe it off or go wash it off. And anything that becomes that hurdle to jump over can take you out of the moment or take them out of the moment.
Absolutely.
So,
and then also the sensation of somebody going down on you when they have a beard can be really unpleasant for a lot of receivers. Sometimes, like, the scratchiness of that texture really doesn't feel good, and that's another big reason why people will use Lorals as well.
Yes, facial hair being a big reason for wanting your partner to have a barrier between their face and your genitals. But yeah, anything out there that can allow you to say yes more often to pleasurable experiences rather than go like, and we do have to sometimes think about all the different factors. Where am I in my cycle? Because that can make a difference for our odor. Did I shower in the last few hours, or did I maybe get a little sweaty? There's so many reasons why we may be hesitant to do what our partner may be asking for, to do what we really want to do in that moment, or what we typically do in a sexual encounter with our partners. But I want everyone out there listening to know that, like, this isn't a product that's just for hookup sex to prevent STIs. This can be for a long-term partnership where you have a flare-up of HSV, or one partner has HPV. This could be something that's simply in a long-term relationship. You want to perform oral sex, but bacterial infections or E. coli are super worrisome. So this is a product that I think, just as you say, it lets people say yes to pleasure in such a wide range of experiences. So yeah, that anything that does that to me is just, one, I can't believe someone didn't think of this sooner. But two, I'm really glad your product's on the market.
Me too. Thank you.
Yeah. What sort of you know, we talked briefly about your entrepreneurial journey, but like when you actually got into like the product side, I mean, obviously you got to go out there, you got to find people to help you with that because you don't have a background in manufacturing and things like that. But sexual wellness products specifically, and then being a woman-owned business, you probably had your own unique set of obstacles. So if you were to give a piece of advice to anyone else out there who is trying to, whether it's a device, it's a product, it's something, but it's around sexual health and wellness, what are some of your, I don't know, top tips or best pieces of advice you would give to people trying to bring something like that to market?
Yeah, I think that one of two of the best things that I did while I was trying to bring Lorals to market. First was to go to a medical devices conference, and maybe the equivalent, if you're like for certain types of sexual wellness products, is going to a sexual wellness conference. But going there, and I basically went up to almost every single booth and just asked them questions about what they did, what they love about their products or the type of consulting they do. And then I had basically a list of questions of things that I was trying to figure out, like, what are the good rubber products manufacturers in the U.S.? If not the U.S., like, what is the appropriate country to go to? And do you recommend? Like, is there somebody that you recommend as an FDA consultant, lawyer? Things like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I just basically had a lot of conversations, and out of that, conference, it led to me meeting a really great medical devices consultant. Because of that, basically because we were, working together, he really encouraged me to go to the source and to really find the best rubber and latex product manufacturers. And turns out the majority of them are in Malaysia. That's where the
I see a lot of condoms are made in Malaysia. Yeah.
Yeah, like 80 to 90% or something of the world's condoms are made in Malaysia. Yeah. And so the second thing that I did that I really highly recommend doing if you have a unique product is to go out and meet with factories. And so I pretty early on flew out to Malaysia and met with about 8 or so factories to talk about potentially making this product. I learned so much about the inner workings of the factories, and also I learned so much about condom manufacturing, which is really helpful to understand for Lorals manufacturing. And then also, I got to develop these relationships that, even though since then we, started working with one particular factory, I'm still in touch with these other factories, and I, have access to people and this world that I wouldn't really have if we were doing everything via email and phone and Zoom. So those are two things that I would suggest for, product manufacturing specifically. With sexual wellness generally, I just want to put caution out there. It's really, really hard. Whether you have a coaching business or a therapy business that's focused on sex therapy, any kind of sex related business is a lot harder than you would expect growing up hearing like sex sells, because sex does sell, but when you can't talk about sex, then it's hard to sell it. And I think that you have to have a passion for creativity and like an excitement about euphemisms, and rather than getting frustrated all the time because of all the things that we can't say, you have to just iterate and think of new ways to talk about these things, so that so that you can get the word out, because whatever your new sexual wellness business is, people need to know about it in order to know that, like, you might be able to change their lives in this positive way. And I think so many of us went into the sexual wellness industry because we really wanted to help people. We wanted people to be able to feel more confident and comfortable and passionate and sexy during all of their intimate encounters. And so we're coming at it from this place of, like, really wanting to change things. And you just keep having to work so hard to even let people know that you want to help them. So I would put out a cautionary tale, but still do it. Still do it, absolutely. Yes. But it's not going to be easy.
Yeah. Although if you could have a marketing campaign that just said "eat more ass," I know it would work. It would just be a limited amount of platforms so we should do it. But I would love a T-shirt from you all that says "eat more ass."
Okay, I'll think about doing that.
QR code or something on the back.
I love it. That would be great to wear at Pride, actually.
Yes,
perfect Pride,
actually.
or like a going out T-shirt. Okay, yeah, I love it. Totally. Thank you, Kristen.
Cool. I would love one if you make that. But yeah, "eat more ass" would be. I would absolutely wear that T-shirt 100%.
I'm writing it down.
Okay, good. But, like, ultimately, yes, that's just one application for the product. Don't get me wrong, I get that. But, like, as you say, that I think is one of the more complicated things for the marketplace right now. Whether it's a practice like me or a product like yours, we live in a time where there's such a high level of censorship, to the point where you can't just be straightforward about body part names, how something is used, all that stuff. So, just from one sexual health expert out in the field trying to market themselves to another person, like, my heart goes out to you. So,
and I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's just it's sad for our sexual wellness businesses, but more importantly, it's just sad for sex and sexuality and, women's rights and LGBTQ rights, and it's disappointing to see all of these changes happening on social media platforms. And, to be more specific, basically, I think so many of us in the sexual wellness industry were experiencing so much incredible reach at the height of the pandemic, and really being able to get our message out in this incredible way, and having such a positive reception. And, I think over the last year and a half, I feel like this changed when the, like, abortion ruling came down from the Supreme Court. It's just been so much pulling back and so much less organic reach on all of these platforms. And I think that it is, it's happening because society is changing too. And, with AI and with technology improving in the way that it has, it feels like we're on this pathway to sex becoming something that is less often a physical connection between two people. And I truly think that is such a hard thing to replicate through technology. The beauty of being able to physically connect with another person and to touch them and to engage in fun sex stuff with them and make that kind of connection is so incredibly special and so important to, like, us as humans. And I don't want to see that go away. And the less that these things are able to be talked about, the more people are just going to go on the internet and find the things that they can find.
Yes.
Yeah. And porn can be great. And sex
And
work is
AI
incredible.
girlfriends might have their time and place.
Yes, absolutely.
But-
Absolutely. But, there's really very little that replaces this like physical human connection. And so I hope that the pendulum swings back in the direction of, people being able to have platforms where they can talk about sex and sexuality in a proud and empowered way.
Yes, I'm with you. We're in that fight together for sure. So, between again, this podcast is now in season 3, but I have over 150 episodes. I write a monthly sex and relationship column in The Pitch here in Kansas City, where I cover various topics like this. For Pride Month was about pansexuality, and last month was International Masturbation Month. I've talked about AI and relationships. I know it's trying times, and I have hope for the future that, as you say, the pendulum will swing back to, let's just be able to talk about bodies for body's sake, right? We don't need to call a body part something different just because it's your genitals.
Yep.
I want to go to a time where we can just be really matter of fact about sexual health and pleasure and reproduction, and letting people make their decisions for their bodies and their lives. And just things being a little more peaceful for everybody. So, but we got to get out there and fight for it at this point.
Yep, absolutely.
So, Melanie, I have a few rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
You down with that?
I am.
Okay, so what is your favorite way to turn yourself on?
Okay, so I think that, so I have a favorite physical position. It is, being face down and body down. I really like the feeling of like sinking into something and kind of receiving upward pressure on my body. And so that is the favorite place that I am in physically. I really love the sounds of sex. And so not necessarily like audio erotica, like that isn't quite what does it for me, although it seems to be so great for so many people. I like hearing the actual sounds of
like the wetness, the bodies moving.
Yes, and
and
like the grunts and the breaths and stuff like that. So I basically find porn that sounds like it sounds good and enjoy that. So that's a self activity. And then I would say with another person, I really like eye gazing. I really like deep conversations that make me feel really connected to the person. And I like being able to laugh about the same things, like in close proximity, and like watch each other laugh and be delighted. Those are things that turn me on.
Very nice. Yeah. Favorite kind, like style of toy?
A Pebble vibrator.
Okay. Least favorite sex position?
This is a surprise, right? Oh no. Am I actually going to say it? My least favorite is 69.
It's complicated.
It's so complicated to have to be like thinking about this thing while also feeling like pleasure on your own, and your like legs need to be in such a specific place, and same with your head. Like it's fun and it's
hair
sexy.
can get in the way.
Yes. So it's fun and it's sexy for like a couple of minutes, but then I like to turn it into like a, let's do this in a different direction thing. And you can still, I mean, I talked earlier about gifting and intimacy, and I still, like, I always feel very strongly that is such a special thing to experience. But also I think that there are really great ways that you can like mutually pleasure people, not through intercourse, but through other types of activities. But I feel like it's most hard when it's two mouths. If it's like one mouth and one hand, then like, or like, you know, your mouth and their hand, or their hand and your mouth, or whatever. I think I just said the same thing. Yeah, but
But yeah, I'm
hands and mouths. I'm very pro hands and mouths.
Awesome. Favorite sex education book?
Oh, okay. So, Come As You Are. Absolutely. I think that Come As You Are was a very life-changing book for me, both, you know, as a person, and then also it really helped me formulate Lorals and think about how important it was that that Lorals, you know, not only turn off the offs, but are actually a turn on, something that actually enhances the experience.
Yes.
That very much comes from
absolutely. I bring up the dual control model quite a lot. I love that book.
And then I
a lot
also
of clients.
just ordered, oh my gosh, I want to say it because, okay, I just ordered Rena Martin's book, The Sex You Want, and it is arriving today, and I'm so excited to check it out. She
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, she is a sexual wellness coach in LA, and a friend of mine. We met recently at a sexual wellness networking event, and I'm so excited to read her book. Also, I feel like I need to give more shout outs. Any of Tristan Taormino's books are incredible, and then Ian Kerner's book on performing oral sex is such a great resource.
She comes first.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's on my shelf too. Yeah.
Yes.
That is definitely a go-to. Very good. Last question. A song that turns you on.
Oh, like, okay, any EDM. I really like.
You want that like to feel the pulse in your body.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, so I was just at a concert last night, and we were talking about where in our bodies we feel like the baseline, and it was different for everyone. So for me, I feel it in my chest, and then two of my friends like feel it in their pelvis specifically, and then somebody else like felt it in their tummy, and then others like felt it in their head. I thought that was so fascinating that we all feel it in different places. But yeah, like I love EDM. The first song that's coming to my mind is like the Rez song that was really popular on TikTok for a while, where people were doing like this thing. Do you remember that?
Oh, okay. Yes.
But I saw Rez perform that at Beyond Wonderland, and it was very hot and sexy.
Yeah. Well, that gets us through all the lightning round questions for you. But the last thing I have is an Ask Coach Kristen Anything segment, where it's your chance to ask me any kind of question that you like. It can be a personal question. It could be a sexual health question. It could just be a get my opinion on something, or ask for a friend. So what do you got for me today?
So,
okay,
how do you handle the complicated interpersonal aspect of somebody being your friend, but also wondering if you have feelings for them? When is it a good idea to say something, and when is it a good idea to hold on to that?
That's probably one of the more complex things that I think we can go through in life, right? Is trying to decipher, do I like this person simply because they're a good person? A lot of things that you're going to want in a very close friend and a lover or a partner in life, there's going to be so much overlap, right? You're going to want someone that respects you. You're going to want someone that's maybe sort of intrigued by you and wants to support you, is a big cheerleader. So yes, it could be really complicated to figure out, is this person just supposed to be that friend and that level of confidant, or is this someone that I could be compatible with long term as a partner and a lover? I think that there could be possibly the opportunity to have conversations about life without it being, could we do life together? So, for example, I absolutely love and still reference back to the 36 questions to get to know each other better.
But those are so intense.
It can be intense.
I did the 36 questions with a former significant other, and I think it was too early, honestly, because I think that it led to something that I see as kind of like a problem in queer relationships often, where like
you get too close,
you get too close really quickly, and you don't really know them. Like there are still so many questions that are left unanswered, even though you've asked and answered the big ones. And so I do see what you're saying, like when it's with a friend and somebody that you've already known for a really long time, like you've already filled in a lot of those gaps, and now this is a way to like really understand them.
You totally already have some inkling of like what's their integrity level like, right? What is their interaction like with other people? For instance, like are they kind to servers and other people that they might just meet in casual encounters. You already have an idea of somewhat what their humanity is like. But yeah, getting into some of those deeper things about compatibility. Maybe this friend is, again, just supposed to be that super close person in your life, and it would never work out. We're really bad at trying to predict the future, right? When we would rather be pleasantly surprised than really, really disappointed. So I think that is also something that stops us from tapping into potential.
Yeah.
So I think that's an assessment you got to make. How much potential could it have? And fundamentally, first and foremost, does this person have all the stuff that would make them like my super best friend? Not just a friend that's around. Like someone that's got your back can be great, but if they wouldn't be like your ultimate best friend, that confidant that you turn toward, and that you will be good friends probably no matter what because you just have so much in common. Those two fundamentals of being a good friend and turning toward are essential for relationship longevity. So I think if you don't think you could have those two things, you probably shouldn't worry about trying to explore something beyond friendship.
I agree with you.
But if you do though, I don't know. I think that there's definitely a lot of people out there who have been hesitant to talk to someone just because they worry about losing the level of relationship that they already have established. And yeah, also I think that telling someone that, hey, I'm attracted to you. I have wondered recently or for a while, could there be something here? You might just be pleasantly surprised by that person. And yes, you may have to have that conversation about, we don't want to lose the friendship. I get it. And yet you could also be missing out on something really, really beautiful if you don't take that opportunity. And it doesn't have to be awkward. So envision the best case scenario. What are the good outcomes that could come of you telling this person, hey, I'm attracted to you?
I love the optimism of that. That's great.
I tend to be fairly optimistic.
Yes.
Yeah. So, oh my gosh, thank you again so very, very much for your time today and being my guest on Keep Them Coming. Of course, I will have some things in the show notes, but go ahead and tell the listeners, how do they find you and your product?
Well, so Lorals are available on a variety of sexual wellness websites, and also urbanoutfitters.com. But you can find all of the information about Lorals at our own website, which is mylorals.com. That's MYL, the word oral, S.com. And at My Lorals on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of the social medias. YouTube has become big for us lately. But yeah, anyway, so My Lorals on all of the things. And then you can also check me out at Instagram at Melanie Cristol, MELANIE CRISTOL, or if you just like look up the founder of the Oral Sex Undies company, then you'll find me that way. I also have a very small little TikTok where I basically make videos about having Tourette's and wondering if I have autism. But I think I'm going to be probably making more videos about like behind the scenes with Lorals. So check me out there if you'd like as well.
Very good. We'll do that. I'll be sure to find you on all the platforms.
Yay.
So,
thank you.
well, thank you again so much, and I wish you all the best.
You too, Kristen. This has been such a great conversation. Really appreciate you having me on.